You may have wondered why I haven't posted lately. Shut the fuck up! I'm sorry. Where was I? For as long as I can remember, or basically since high school, I've wanted to become a psychotherapist. And the big fish of psychotherapy is called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. And as the dominant force in modern psychotherapy, it is by no means a fraudulent practice. It's, as it turns out, highly practical and has shown great success in addressing symptoms of mental health issues like anxiety or depression. At the core of CBT is the belief that changing the way we think and act can also lead to an improved emotional well-being. And while CBT is very effective for short-term relief, especially in cases where people need immediate psychological resources, its focus on managing symptoms can often fall short when it comes to developing deeper emotional change. I mean, what happens when controlling what we think and what we do just isn't enough? People can become experts at managing their symptoms and become technically highly functional while still carrying a lot of unprocessed emotional wounds that CBT just doesn't care as much to address, in principle at least, as its main goal is to provide practical strategies for managing symptoms in the present. In high school, I was starting to dive into all kinds of self-help rabbit holes.
Big dick energy, it's absolutely fascinating. The higher you go
Since I was convinced that if I could just become more productive or more disciplined, I'd feel better. And in some sense I did feel better, but it was always just kind of surface level. I don't know, like sitting on pillows stacked up on burning coal. And you know, if not for the fact that none of the self-managing tricks that I tried over the years actually helped me, I would have probably ended up being a cognitive behavior therapist. That is, if not simply for the lack of a better alternative. And there are other popular approaches like psychoanalysis, dialectical behavior therapy and whatnot, but none of these really ended up appealing or making sense to me. And this is when I found emotion-focused therapy, or EFT, and it amazed me, primarily because it allowed me to finally understand, to make sense of things, the way it's structured, the way it was developed. It makes it very intuitive and also comprehensive to approach and help a client, any client. EFT acknowledges the importance of thoughts and behavior, but it understands that they're not the whole picture and that in some sense it's less important trying to fix these issues, which most of the time end up being secondary, even though they are actually what might bring us to therapy in the first place. Instead, EFT tries to get to the heart of things, to the root of our suffering. Now, lastly, and as an extra, if you've watched some of my other videos where I mentioned this myself, it's important to be able to make distinctions between different types of emotions, which is part of emotional processing and which EFT is doing particularly well and comprehensively. And we'll go into the topic of emotions in EFT at some point if you want on this channel, but what's really important to highlight and what I want to leave you with is that behind most, if not all of the symptoms, the personal or interpersonal issues that a client might come to therapy for, what you'll find every time is unregulated or unprocessed emotion. And emotion-focused therapy helps people understand that, and it helps them handle and finally process it.
Every day I have some food and everything seems like it's going to be fine. Then all of a sudden shit